Hi, Jackie here. I'm the Manager of Therapeutic Programming for AFA, and it's my pleasure to introduce Emily Sharp, licensed creative arts therapist and board certified art therapist. In today's virtual community class, we'll be creating collages. So grab your glue and your magazines, and let's create a collage together.
Hi, my name is Emily, and I work as an art therapist. Today I wanted to show you guys a demonstration of a project you can do at home with a lot of materials that you might already have lying around the house. So today I wanted to show you how to make a collage at home. So you can start with a piece of paper and then whatever kind of collage materials you have available to you. So for me, I found this magazine that I thought looked interesting with a lot of bright colored images in it. And I thought this might be nice to collect some images from and to create a collage out of. So you can see here that I just tore out some pages that I thought might be interesting to use. You're going to need also a pair of scissors, some glue, and that's kind of it. Whatever other collage materials you'd like. Another option could be photographs. I took this picture the other day when I was walking on the beach. It's just a Polaroid picture. You can also use photocopies of photos, or if you have extra photographs lying around, that works too. I also really like to incorporate writing sometimes into my collages. Maybe different poems or quotes or things you've written yourself could be also a really nice addition. So I went ahead and wrote something on this paper here that is a poem that I really love that I'll share with you guys. So the theme for today, for this project, I was looking through my pictures and kind of choosing a theme based on some images I collected and also the time of year it is. So I thought a theme that we could work on today would be springtime or maybe new beginnings. Spring is a great time to consider what's coming next. It's a time of rebirth. A lot of things are blooming outside. We're kind of in that transition phase of the seasons right now. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm really eagerly awaiting spring and summer coming after that. How are you guys feeling about the seasons right now? I know we're all in a place where we are meeting virtually, watching videos or doing these types of classes. And that's different than the ways we would normally meet together in person. So I know there's been some changes there. And, in this time when we're kind of, in a way, forced to be still, I think it can be hard to wait for what's coming next. But just like the seasons, there is that time of pausing and that time of waiting before being born again. So I think it's a really beautiful metaphor for right now. And to consider that, we're maybe in that sort of longer winter period right now. I wanted to check in with everybody today. How are you guys feeling? What's coming up for you? This can be a time where we can share about how we're doing. There's a way to comment below, and you can leave your thoughts. If you want to share with our group how you're doing today, I'd love to hear from you. And I know other people in this that are watching this art video, other people involved in groups that you might normally attend probably want to hear from you too. So let us know. And on that subject of springtime, what are you looking forward to? What are you guys looking forward to about the warmer weather or the summertime to come? So that was the general thought I had for spring. So I want to encourage you guys just to flip through whatever materials you have, check out different magazines lying around, newspapers, just kind of whatever you can get your hands on. And then we can start assembling a collage here. So I have all of these different images that I thought were pretty interesting, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut some of them out. You guys can be as precise or not with the cutting. That's up to you. Some people like to make collage out of different colored paper where they just go ahead and rip the shapes. That will create a different kind of texture. I'm using magazine pages and scissors, and that's going to create a more exact line. So here's an image that I thought was kind of interesting. It sort of reminded me of like a sun, or I don't know, something that's like centered. I just liked the idea of a yellow circle. So I don't really know where it's going to go yet, but I might like take a look at my paper here and consider what I see. So again, I'm just going to kind of look through some of these images and see what they could become. So we'll see here what this turns into. I don't know what this is, but I thought it was also, again, just like an interesting image to play around with. And my theme of new beginnings or springtime, I think is kind of coming up in my images a little bit. And we'll see if it translates into this collage that I'm creating. What did you guys think about the materials you found at home? Did they inspire some interesting ideas? For me, this one looked a lot like a jungle scene. I thought it was pretty interesting. So I'm kind of just assembling things together now and creating what could be an interesting collage. And the cutting that you do, or the tearing, doesn't have to be exact. You could make it as exact or as loose as you wanted to. And same with the themes for any of our projects we're doing. It's just a suggestion. If your images are speaking to you in a different way, go with it. Were there some different themes that came up for you guys? Maybe you could share that below if you wanted to. Like, what were some of the images that you found in magazines in your own home? And also, what did those images lead you to create? I think that that's sometimes where these themes come from. We can let the images lead us into a certain direction. So I'm going to just kind of turn some things around here, see what works as far as the orientation of what I'm making. I think that this one might make a nice background for what I'm doing, but I want to encourage everyone to find a background, and also consider how can you layer pieces together to create different layered images. So like you can arrange them in such a way where things are layered on top of each other. So it's sometimes easier to lay things out first before gluing. So I might decide, this looks pretty cool right here. I feel happy with that, so I can start gluing. But you want to consider what's going to be in the background and what's going to be in the foreground of your image. Some people like to cut out all of the images first. Sometimes that helps them to organize a little bit. So it's really up to you about how you do it. For me, I kind of prefer at this moment to cut out all the images that I might use, just so I can get an idea of placement, what's going to go where. Right now I'm cutting out this tree, and I liked this tree, even though I picked the idea of springtime or new beginnings. I liked this tree because it's actually a winter tree. Do you want to see? It looks barren. There's a lot of snow around. There's nothing really on the branches. But I kind of liked that because I was hoping that I could make it look like it was growing maybe like new leaves, or it was like a part of that springtime image. So I'm kind of just collecting here. I'm placing some things where I want them to go. I'm cutting the images as I work here. And we're just going to see what comes out of this collage. Don't really have a lot of ideas ahead of time. I'm just going to let the images that I'm cutting out lead the way. So I'm curious, how do you guys like to work? Do you like to have an exact idea ahead of time? How does it feel just to kind of be a part of the process, to see where the art images lead you? So I have these little, almost like flower things that I found that I think I might add to the tree in hopes of making it look a little bit more colorful. Like it might not be a winter tree, like it could be blooming. We'll see. I also want to encourage everybody who's watching this to maybe think back to some spring or summertime memories. What are some things that you remember enjoying about springtime or summertime? What are some things that feel special about that season or important about that time of year? What comes to mind for you? For me, I'm thinking of spending time in nature. I really love taking walks, if it's in the park or on the beach or different places like that. And in every season, it's nice, but I think there's something for me that's really special about the warmer months. I just feel better about being outside, and I love getting to spend that time in nature. So what about you guys? What are some memories that you have of springtime? What are some memories that you have during the summer months? What activities do you like to do? What do you really enjoy, I guess, about that time of year? And again, you can comment below if you want, and start a conversation and see what people say. Maybe we have really similar ideas about things we like to do in the winter. In the spring or summer. Maybe we all have really different ideas. So I guess we can see. So I'm kind of cutting this out here, creating some kind of image here that I think might be a nice addition. And I'm going to see if my photograph might also fit in somewhere. Maybe I want to include that somehow. Let me also make this a different size. So don't feel like you can't kind of shift and change things and move around. I think that that's, part of this experiment. We're all just kind of experimenting with the artwork, with the images. And I mentioned before, I also really like to sometimes include writing in my collages. If you like to write your own material, I think this is such a cool opportunity to do that. Do we have any writers in the group right now? Anybody that enjoys poetry or writing, just prose or anything, journaling? Let me know if there's any writers in the group, or if you want to share something you've written from this project. Or maybe there's a favorite quote. Maybe you have a quote that you like, or a song lyric, or something that reminds you of springtime or new beginnings, maybe even summer to come. So I found this poem by Billy Collins that I have always really liked. I like the imagery in it. I think it's he has a great way of making ordinary situations seem kind of magical, which I thought was also, besides it being about spring, I thought was perfect for this time when we're spending a lot more time inside than we might normally be. So I think making those everyday moments magical or interesting is such a gift right now. So I'm trying to do that a lot for myself. And I think poems like this help. So I can read it to you. It's called Today by Billy Collins. If ever there were a spring day so perfect, so uplifted by a warm, intermittent breeze, that it made you want to throw open all of the windows of the house and unlatch the door to the canary's cage. Indeed, rip the little door from its jamb. A day when the cool brick paths and the garden bursting with peonies seemed so etched in sunlight that you felt like taking a hammer to the glass paperweight on the living room end table, releasing the inhabitants from their snow-covered cottage so they could walk out holding hands and squinting into this larger dome of blue and white. Well, today is just that kind of day. And I love that poem. I think it's such a fun poem. I love the image of him going to the table and smashing a paperweight of these people that are trapped in winter and just letting them go free. And then they kind of, squint and go outside and see what the real world is like. So maybe in some ways it feels like we're a little bit stuck inside right now. But I think there's also that imagination side of us, or that creative side, that can take a trip without ever leaving our home. So I'm hoping that today, this art project might be a way to take a trip without ever leaving. Or this poem might be a way to imagine a world, even if we are still inside. So that was my thought with that. So what I usually like to do when it comes to adding writing to my collages is I'll sometimes cut it up so that it'll appear kind of cut and then pasted onto the background. So I'm cutting out strips of the poem, and you can see it's like my not so perfect handwriting here. So I'm gonna just sort of place it on the paper. Anywhere you want to place whatever you're writing or your collage images, that works great. So I'm going to cut these strips. And then once I get this all glued down, you'll be able to see it. But I think for now you can kind of see how I'm placing things on top of my background. So you want to have some layers to your collage. That's part of the trick of collaging. So you can think about a background. What do you want your background to look like? You can think of a mid-ground. Maybe there's some middle sections to what you're adding to your page. And then a foreground. Usually the foreground, or the part of the collage that's closest to you, is going to typically be the smallest, right? Because you're layering it on top. You want to still be able to see the background. So I'm just adding these quotes, this poem to here. You can also use quotes, whatever you feel like. And I'm almost done arranging it in a way that I find visually pleasing somehow. And that's all in the eye of the beholder. So you can decide what looks good for you. So I'm going to set the strips of this poem to the side. And I'm going to start gluing some things down. So now that I know where I want everything to go, I can kind of just remember that. Again, it doesn't have to be exact. And then I can start gluing. So what I'll do is take my glue stick and just apply the glue to the back of the magazine clipping that you're working with. So I'm just going to go ahead and cover it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to place it down onto my paper and use my hands to smooth it out. So you see, here's my background of this kind of nature scene. And then I'm going to add the next layer. So on top of this background, I found this image of flowers that I thought might make a nice border. So, as you can see, they're like orchids, and I've included them in this background. So I'm just adding those to the edges here. So I just decided to place these kind of around the edge. And I'm curious what kind of images everybody has chosen. Like what seemed meaningful for you to include in your artwork. Did you guys go with a nature theme as well, or did other images stand out to you. Like with anything in these groups, the theme can kind of come to you based on what you're seeing. So I'm gonna So you can also leave some of the collaged magazine images off of the side of the page if you want. It doesn't have to be a perfect square. That's really just up to you. If you would like to trim it, I sometimes like to glue it down first and then just hold it backwards so the back is facing me so I can cut off the edges, the excess paper. So look, I cut off the extra paper and it's laying flat, which works for me. Next, I'm gonna add my yellow circle, and this is my picture of the beach. I'm gonna add that to this page here. So again, you just apply your glue stick to the back of the image. And then use your hand to apply a little bit of pressure to smooth it down. So for this circle, I'm going to keep it almost where it's like coming off of the page. I like the look of it being not exactly uniform. So that's just a preference of mine. So I'm going to estimate where I put the glue. It doesn't have to be totally exact. And then I'm going to, again, just apply a little bit of pressure. And it should stay pretty well. So I like the idea of this yellow circle coming off of the page. I don't know. I think it looks kind of interesting that way. But again, just like a personal preference. And next, I have my winter tree. Remember how I found this tree? And I thought it was kind of interesting because I'm trying to create a theme that reflects like summer or springtime. So why would I include a winter tree? Well, I think what I can do is kind of make it look like it's blooming, like flowers are coming off of it. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm gluing on here. I'm gluing these kind of flowers to it. So instead of a winter tree, now I have a tree that looks like it's blooming. So the thing with collage that I love is that it might start out a certain way, but then it can be transformed. So that's a really fun part about art for me. It can start off as a blank piece of paper, and then it can transform into something really colorful or really beautiful. So I'm going to add this tree just here. So I kind of have what looks like a balance in my paper. So there's these orchids up here, over here. So I'm kind of balancing the composition a little bit. I have this big sun right here, a photo, and then also a pretty large tree. So next I want to add the poem that I read to you guys. So that was that poem by Billy Collins. It's called Today, if you want to look it up later. Or you can rewind and listen to me read it again. But if you want to save it for yourself, it's called Today. So I'm, again, just going to add some glue to the back of these strips that I've written. And I'm leaving a little bit of space in between each one because I like the idea that the background can also show through in this image. So just apply your glue to the back and then apply a little bit of pressure to make sure it sticks down. Super simple. So I'm trying to space these out in a way that, again, just looks interesting to me or looks kind of visually pleasing. So there's no right or wrong way to do it. You guys are the creators of this project. So I have just a couple more left here. Okay. So I added the lyrics or the lines to this poem on top of my images. So you can see the background that I did at first of this kind of jungle pattern. You can barely see it, but it does peek through. And then we have the midground of this big yellow circle and this tree. And then the foreground of the written words on top. So you can see all of the elements of this collage in one image combined. And I think I made something pretty nice. I'm kind of happy with how it turned out. What do you guys think? What did you think about this type of project to do at home? Or the idea of combining mixed media art. So using collage and writing. You could always draw or paint on top. I think the possibilities are pretty endless when it comes to collage. So let us know what you thought of this project. If you'd like to upload any photos of what you've made, you can. You can take a picture and post it below. You can, share with the group how this project was for you. Did you enjoy it? I hope so. Thank you guys so much for coming today, and I hope to see you in person soon. Have a good one.